We'll call the meeting to order. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our visitors. I would remind you that the meeting tonight is being recorded and it will be available for all and sundry to see sometime tomorrow, possibly?
Within the next 3 days.
Next 3 days, okay. You have an agenda that was sent to you electronically. There are some copies around the room. Could I have a motion to approve the agenda? So move, Councillor Bain, seconded Councillor Now. All in favor? Motion's carried. Let's go to the first item on the agenda, the minutes of the regular meeting of June 27th.
I'll move to be approved as circulating, Your Worship.
I'll second it.
Seconded Councillor Carver. On the motion, all in favor? Motion's carried. Let's go on to information items correspondence. What is the wish of council?
I have a question about the item from Joanne Grimley.
Yes?
Which seemed to indicate that some action might be needed as opposed to information only. It was, her concern was that Mahone Bay area had not been included
In the AAA tour book?
Yeah, so, I mean, I don't know how big an issue that is or whether we want to take any action on it.
Did we not defer this at the last council meeting? Maybe not.
No,
No, it came up after, that's right.
Yeah.
It came
Came
up
up
after
at-
the planning
yeah.
advisory committee.
So I'm just putting the question out, is this something that we want to respond to? You seem to be asking us to. Right.
Well, that should be more of an issue for the chamber, shouldn't it? Yeah, it should go to the chamber, they're the ones that put it together, and we sometimes bounce an ad in that page or whatever they do.
Mm-hmm.
Not sure. Exactly if they ever took part in that tour book or not, I don't know.
Worship, if I may, the letter has been forwarded to the Chamber of Commerce and they are already aware of the situation, so.
Do you know if they're planning to take a stand on it with the AAA organization?
I don't recall what she told me, but I know she's aware of the situation and I just don't recall what she was gonna do.
Well, perhaps we can follow up with the chamber, and if it would be appropriate for the town to issue a statement in support,
Yes,
then we would do so.
I think so.
Yeah.
Entertain a motion to that effect?
And particularly since we've been eliminated because Mahone Bay is insignificant.
Yes, we
Yes.
are. Mm-hmm.
I so move.
Okay, moved and seconded by Councillor O'Neill. And the motion is that we will consult with the chamber and on their recommendation would provide a note of support on the AAA response initiative. All in favor?
Thank you.
Motion's carried. Let's go on to, we're still dealing with our correspondence information.
Motion to receive and file, Your Worship. The other,
Seconded by Councillor Now. On the question. All in favor? Motion carried. Let's go on to staff reports. I had a question just before we begin this. On my laptop, I lose the right-hand side
Yes,
I
of
had
the
that,
report.
yeah.
So did I.
same thing.
On
And then
my,
after you get down the full range of pages, you get another series with 3 or 4 letters on the
Yeah.
left-hand
Yeah,
side.
the right-hand side
It's
is,
cutting off,
yeah.
right?
I thought I was just,
yeah,
Maybe it's.
I thought it was a thing, but it's happening to everybody then.
yeah, and on my desktop too, not just the laptop.
Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's not the scale either.
No,
It's not the size.
It's not the size.
It's not the size.
You can see
Right
here,
back
if
down,
you
it doesn't-
enlarge it, you still lose it on the,
Yeah,
Right?
no,
No matter what size it is.
it cut off as it became a PDF.
okay.
We'll make sure we don't do that next time.
Do we see it enough to proceed? Everybody's got enough info, okay. Mr. CAO.
Alright, well, there's not much new in this one, because on the first meeting of each month, we only update the tasks assigned from council part. So if there's any questions, I'll take them, but the rest of it, we'll update the whole thing at our next meeting.
Okay.
Mayor, on item 10, the deed transfer tax increasing to 1.5% next month. By happenstance, I was talking to a couple real estate agents in the last few weeks, and one even yesterday, and they weren't aware of that increase going through, and it might be something we might want to just put a little. We might just want to post that either on the town hall front door or something to let folks know that that is indeed happening. I don't think anyone can take advantage of it between now and the end of the month, but I just think from information purpose, I'm not sure how well disseminated that item is well known. So
Are we on track to establish it for the 1st of August?
Yes, we are. Yeah,
We are.
and it's probably, to Joe's point, is
It's-
about the right window to give people to just
Yeah.
let them
Yes.
know. Yeah, we can post it on our site. I don't know where else makes sense. Mo, do you think? I mean, downstairs, I guess. But
Yeah, we could. It's went out in the mayor's
Oh.
newsletter that had the budget
it
edition.
was referenced in there.
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
But yeah, we can look at other ways to do that.
just to eliminate the surprise
Yeah.
of anything that happens in August to the degree that we can.
Is there any value to identify the real estate firms that are currently showing listings within the town boundaries and send them an email to say, I don't know if we want to get into that level of detail or not, but I'd hate to.
I think we just use our traditional media. We just communicate it the way
Yeah,
we
we
would
always
normally communicate it. It's just a matter of, I think it's been a month or so since we would have spoken the mayor's newsletter. We might just want to take advantage of the next 3 weeks to put something on the front door, and
Yeah.
it's going to be what it's going to be.
Put something like the district.
I think the danger of trying to notice everybody is
You'll miss somebody.
that
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
I just have a question for Councillor Feeney. Was any discussion about any resistance to it?
No, actually quite the opposite. It was generally it was viewed as just alignment with the rest of the region. That was the feedback that I received. So, not that I would have really felt that if there would have been negative reaction, but it is good to know that the market thinks it's
supporting it.
fair.
Yeah.
The market thinks it's
I was
fair.
just curious because when it originally came in, we actually had delegations before us.
Hmm.
This is when you first instituted the
Yeah.
transfer.
I'm sure Councillor Noss remembers.
Oh, yeah.
And am I right in hearing at a previous meeting, we were the first municipality in the province to do it?
We were, yeah.
Well, I don't know if we were first, we were one of the first.
Okay,
First,
one of-
I don't know if we were number one.
Okay.
Okay.
Councillor Carver.
Yes, in relation to your idea of alerting realtors, one way of doing that would be to simply send a note to the chamber. They could do that if they wanted to their members. Just
Good idea. Good idea. Can we do that tomorrow, clerk? Thank you, Councillor Carver. Anything else from that report?
I just wondered if there was an update on the time frame of the bandstand reno planning. It's mentioned that there would be an update as of June 24th.
I wish I had more of an update. At this point, my expectation is that we're going to have a proposal that the work be deferred to begin in the fall. But I can't actually confirm that because I haven't received any communication. So Derek is the one that speaks with the contractor, so I'll talk to him in the morning. But last time he didn't get an update when he was supposed to have received an update. His feeling was that was what we were going to end up with. And the big disadvantage with that is with regards to the province, who of course they're funding this and expected a report before now. But I don't want to actually go as far as to say that is what's happening until we hear back.
It's the contractor who's causing the delay?
Yeah, all of these delays have been on the side of the contractor.
You better get different contractors.
So any conversation that we've had recently about the color of the bandstand and the paint, those are
Done
not
deals.
right, but it's not going to be painted prior to it being renovated, is it?
No.
Oh, so
Right,
no.
no, so these are, okay.
So, if it comes back that it's starting soon, it may even be before the next council meeting, but I'll certainly let you guys know. Otherwise, likely at the next meeting, we'll be reporting on saying, we're telling everyone to use it as normal because we're actually going to have the work completed in late September, early October, something along those lines, but that is speculation right now. And I really hope that's not the case. I'd love it to be starting
Yes.
tomorrow.
C'est tout? Okay. Let us go on.
And if delays on the bandstand weren't bad enough news. Here's a little bit more bad news.
As long as you
Yeah.
can find the funds, but we're good.
Well, yeah, that's so. Right now, I will say for you guys who may remember from the budget that we are running a pretty lean ship with regard to the water reserve at this point. So this overage could potentially push the reserve down to zero for the year, or even into deficit for the year. Now, it would only do that if every other water project proceeded exactly as planned.
Right.
And given that we
Which is unlikely.
really don't expect all the phases of what we've applied to the federal government for to happen. My expectation is that there will be more money left in that depreciation reserve. But worst case scenario, it will be owed back to the reserve, and we'll fix it the following year when the new rates are in. But I don't really see us as having much choice except to postpone this project, which I wouldn't recommend.
Flying on the seat of our pants now.
Yeah,
over there,
So this is just for the backup generator, not not for the primary. Is this a redundancy item or something that's core to the functioning of the plant?
It is a backup generator, and the reason for it is that because the reservoir doesn't actually hold a very significant amount of water relative to demand, if there is a prolonged outage, it actually results in the town running out of water pretty quickly. But if we can just get the water to the other end, because the town is powered separately from where the pump house is located, it could be the difference between 3 days of water and a week of water to the community, and of course for fire protection. I mean, that being said, there is some reason to wait on this. I was hoping that before we moved ahead with this project, I would be able to present on battery solutions that we're looking at within the with area, because having to do with solar generation, of course, batteries are somewhat more advantageous than a generator, and they're not going to have the kind of emissions contribution. But it's looking like the technology for the batteries to be anywhere near as cost effective just isn't there right now. Aaron's done quite a bit of work on it lately, and when I was putting this together, I didn't really think I should go into that, because we did have this commitment that pre-exists my being here to have the backup power. So,
And this is gas too.
Gas or diesel?
Gas.
yeah, because of the location by the lake, it was selected for spills to not contaminate the water source, which batteries would also do, but it was more expensive. So this is the recommendation.
This is the recommendation.
Well, I'll move that council increase the allocation of the pump house generator project in the 2019-20 budget to $75,000.
Seconded by Councillor Feeney. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. You've heard the motion on the question. All in favor? Motion's carried. I think that's an important piece. We gotta have that water.
Gotta have that coming in.
Okay, next item is it's me. This is the FCM partnership program that we have, I believe, already indicated to FCM that we we're going to participate. And I thought we had a motion here.
This whole thing is the motion.
The whole thing, that's why it looks so
Yes.
familiar.
Whereas and whereas.
It's not really our style to have these long ones, but on the climate, it does come up quite a bit.
Okay,
That was the
so
TV.
we would entertain someone to read this list of whereases.
I'm happy to do that.
She's our whereas person.
Okay. Okay. Whereas the Federation of Canadian Municipalities and ICLEI, Local Governments for Sustainability, have established the Partners for Climate Protection program to provide a forum for municipal governments to share their knowledge and experience with other municipal governments on how to reduce GHG emissions. Whereas over 350 municipal governments across Canada, representing more than 65% of the population, have already committed to reducing corporate and community GHG emissions through the PCP program since its inception in 1994. Whereas the PCP program is based on a 5-milestone framework that involves completing a GHG inventory and forecast, setting a GHG reduction target, developing a local action plan, implementing the plan, and monitoring progress and reporting results. Be it resolved that the town of Mahone Bay review the guidelines on PCP member benefits and responsibilities, and then communicate to FCM and ICLEI Canada its participation in the PCP program and its commitment to achieving the milestones set out in the PCP 5 milestone framework. And be it further resolved that the town of Mahone Bay appoint the following. Corporate staff person, Dylan Hyde, Chief Administrative Officer, and an elected official, David Devaney, Mayor, to oversee the implementation of the PCP milestones and be the points of contact for the PCP program within the municipality.
Second that. That's a good one, John.
It's good.
Okay, you've heard the motion. On the question.
I just want, what does ICLEI stand for?
Well, it stands for Local Governments for Sustainability, but don't ask me why those are
What
the
the actual
initials.
The other,
wording
okay.
is.
ICLEI, okay.
Might be French.
I wonder.
Oh.
All in favor? Motion's carried.
Excellent.
Show. Okay, I don't need that one. I've lost my agenda. Okay, there it is. Okay, committee reports, age-friendly community. No.
7.2.
Some of the attachments, but they are items.
Oh, Councillor Bain.
Infrastructure,
That's why he was on like
recreation.
yeah.
So I'm gonna read a little bit of intro to this. At the June 27th council meeting, a motion was made to refer the discussion regarding the proposed declaration of town infrastructure to the Economic Development Committee to determine if the committee is interested in being the reviewing body for the submissions to such a project. We had a meeting on July the 3rd, and the committee discussed it and would like to make the following recommendation to council. That the council delegate the role of review of any submissions to a proposed infrastructure design centennial project to the Economic Development
Okay. Is that two?
So did you make that a motion?
Is that a
John?
motion,
That's a
Councillor
motion,
Bain?
yeah.
It's a motion, okay.
I'll second it.
Council, you seconded? Okay, on the question? I would like to comment if I could.
Yes, definitely.
I think it's a good move for to shift that responsibility to this, the Economic Development Committee. But I think they should be making recommendations back to council and not making unilateral decisions on structural design, artistic design, or colors of bandstands without coming back to talk to council. Right? The council is the group that's empowered by the citizens. The council in turn empowers the committees.
I was gonna say, committees can't make that decision on any of the committees, are they?
With this, they would,
I don't know.
Richard. That's like I say, I think there's some people on the Economic Development Committee right now that have some real insights into these kinds of projects. But I think our responsibility to the town is that council make the final decision, not the committee. So I would support that motion
I
with the
agree.
exception that.
I agree completely with what you're saying.
Okay.
You attended the meeting,
I did,
so you, and I think our CAO did.
yes.
With our chief, and yourself, of course, Counselor. And this was some substance, and some of that discussion was where does the responsibility lie?
That's right. And the
And,
accountability
yeah.
though, too.
And the accountability. And I think it was made very clear at the time that we are a committee of the town, of the council, town of Mahone Bay. So that's where it was. I voiced also a concern about meetings and so on was getting a quorum. That did not seem to be a problem. Everyone seemed to think they would be available.
Willing to
for it, and we
participate.
could do some of it electronically, I guess. So having said that and agreeing with what the mayor is saying, I'll let this item stand.
Let the motion stand?
Let the motion stand, right?
Just a quick,
We
oh,
can-
sorry, you were
We can amend it if it would please
Yeah.
the council.
I support the idea. I seconded the motion. I certainly support the idea that it be juried by
Mhm.
the Economic Development Committee. I am concerned about the timeframe, so because we only have one more council meeting this month and then nothing until September.
So that's what I was gonna say, if you don't mind. What I
No,
was gonna
yeah.
say is that what we're probably looking at in order for the time frame to work, and Mo, you can jump in if you need to, is putting out, so working with the committee over the next couple of weeks to confirm the terms of reference for it, and then having that go to council on the 25th of our next meeting in July. And then essentially having an open period for call for proposals from the public that would run until the end of August. Council meets on the 10th of September, so that would be when the recommendation of the committee has to be in. So between the end of the period, which I'm saying is around the end of August, and the package going out on the 5th of September, we need an Economic Development Committee meeting. That would give a window of approximately a month, a little bit over a month. And hopefully by September 10th, we've still got 2 months of good weather to do some art. So I think that could work as a timeline. Mo, do you think that could work as a timeline? You're the one doing the support for the
You're the
committee.
timeline person.
I think that would work. I would say though that project like this, we probably have to end it at least a little bit into September to give the opportunity if the school wanted to.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, or either of the schools wanted to.
Okay, we'll have to think about that. We don't want to leave it too long because we got to get the work
Okay.
started.
Councillor Bain?
Well, I'll just make the comment that this was something that I was concerned about, Councillor Carver. And through discussion with the CAO being there and people sitting at the front of the table, it was decided we could make this work. Anything initially that was going to be done was probably simply painting lift stations and that sort of thing, which might be something that we can do relatively quickly and be prepared for maybe the next council meeting. Because there's money available immediately for things like paint and stuff. So anyway, I think we can make it work.
Would you read that motion again, please, Councillor?
Yes, I will. Okay, the motion that the council delegate the role of review of any submission to a proposed infrastructure design centennial project to the Economic Development Committee. Now, the word design is a little bit.
And in fairness, I will recognize that it says to review,
Yeah.
not
Dude.
not
That's
approve.
right.
the-
It does.
right?
Mhm.
So can we add that it would be recommendation to council?
Absolutely.
I think even just 4 recommendations council on the end of that.
Okay, that'll do it.
That again was, I think, discussed at the meeting, and I appreciate Maureen's help in putting this thing together for tonight to get at the table for discussion. I think it's been a good discussion, and we can amend it as the will of the council to maybe add that particular item.
I'm happy to second a motion with the addition of
Just one point of clarification, does infrastructure also encompass the heritage signage project? No,
No, so the
That's not-
idea of
that's
the
not it,
project.
that's not infrastructure.
No. So
Infrastructure decoration was the heading as a specific project within the centennial.
Okay, fair enough.
And that would be things such as like a lift station. Does
Yeah.
somebody want to propose, like I
A
want
mural.
to decorate it this way,
Yeah, no,
or
fair
you know
enough.
that
And
sort of
even
thing.
as little as like volunteering to paint a park bench or something
Yeah.
along those
Yeah.
lines.
Fair enough.
And the proposal that we're already working on would highlight specifics, you know, the lift stations, like the whatever. So we've gone back and forth, and as the CAO said, we still have to finalize something to send to the Economic Development Committee to put forward. So, you know, there may be an opportunity for someone to suggest something, but that doesn't automatically mean it's a go. The very specific approved locations would be involved.
The
Okay.
original suggestion for that project, in fact, specified painting the bottom 4 feet or so of telephone poles. So I don't know if
Or fire
that
hydrants?
was, that was
We've
the
looked at a
original-
lot of telephone
that was
pole
the original
examples, that's
idea.
for sure.
We have, yes.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor, moved and seconded. The motion as read with the addition of recommendation to council. All in favor? Motion's carried. Councilor, PAC committee appointment.
Yes, so So applications to fill a committee vacancy were received on July the 2nd, the July 2nd, 2019 meeting of the Planning Advisory Committee. And having reviewed the applications, committee members made a recommendation to council for an appointment. And I move that council appoint Frances Kangata to the Planning Advisory Committee.
Second the motion.
I think most of council had an opportunity to review those applications and, right? Okay, all in favor? Motion's carried.
Thank you.
Looking forward to having Francis participating on that group.
And Maureen, what is the protocol for advising Frances? Or
After the last meeting where it was a public meeting, and there was actually quite a full gallery, I did reach out to Mr. Pangata and just advise where we were in the process that a recommendation was going to be made to council. So after council does make a motion, approve a motion to appoint someone, then we follow up with a letter and all the details about when the meetings are and that sort of thing. So we'll follow up with him quickly.
thank you. If you could copy me on that, so that I see that that's done, that would be really great. And then I will also have that.
It usually goes out by letter.
Oh, I
That
see.
has all the
Okay.
information, yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Next, we have the draft minutes of the Age-Friendly Community Committee. Councillor Carver.
Hold on, just pull it up. So, we have arrived at a draft action plan. Thank you very much to our CAO. And we are recommending to council that council adopt the Age-Friendly Committee's 2019-2020 action plan as amended. Which I take to mean as presented.
Well,
Yeah.
at the meeting, we.
Yes, yeah, so it's
As presented
as
this time.
presented now, yeah.
Yeah.
And it is attached and was
Yeah.
in the previous.
Is that a motion?
Yes, that was a motion.
Second the motion, your worship.
Moved and seconded that council adopt the Age-Friendly Communities 2019-20 action plan as amended. All in favor? Pardon me?
As presented.
As presented. As-
Thank you.
Okay. Alrighty.
What are you on, John?
Is the air conditioner on, John? You find it cold?
Frosty.
Heritage Advisory Committee.
HAC, there was a meeting on the 12th of June. The two primary matters that were dealt with at that meeting really centered around the statement of significance for the 16 Orchard Street designation that council dealt with at the last meeting. So we just have a crossover of dates on the minutes and the action item. So it's my understanding that that item was dealt with at the previous, it's reflected in the minutes as being dealt with at the previous meeting of council. And the other item that we really wanted to start the discussion is around conversations with homeowners who have their properties designated, who want to make minor alterations to the exterior. And we dealt with that with the 151 Edgewater, 121 Edgewater street property earlier in the year. And I think it went quite well, and we had very thoughtful and amenable homeowners. But I think the general consensus of the committees that we just need to put a little more infrastructure around that process and put some paperwork in place that will stand the test of time. This particular committee, as most of the council would know, has a lot of long-standing members, and we as a community benefit from the specific expertise of some of the committee members. And it's not really interchangeable skill sets. So, and as well, a very significant long-time contribution from Councillor Carver But the committee is evolving. We've had two members, longstanding members of that committee that have passed away recently. So we just think we need a little more infrastructure so that the committee can work well when they come into these situations, and the policies are a little more locked down. So that, I think that's something we're going to talk about a little bit more, and Kelly's going to help us move that agenda along. So you'll hear more about that in the next few months, but I think it's something that we really just need to get buttoned up a little bit. So, and it's not a matter of it's just a matter of having a consistent process where if a situation did arise where a homeowner wanted to make an alteration that would not be in keeping with the spirit of the program and the legislation, how would we as a committee react? How would we act? And what would be the guidelines and paths forward on the decision making? And we're fortunate, it's been a while since we've had a contentious issue, but if there was one that would ever come up down the road, we just like to have the rules of the road be a little more defined and established. So I think it'll be a project well worth doing, and you'll hear more about that in the next couple of months.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Councilor Feeney. Joint Municipal Fire Services Committee Bulletin. Councilor Now, did you have any observations or comments about that, or?
No, it's pretty standard, just advising as to what is happening with regarding to fire service administration and what the role of the fire service coordinators are.
Does MODL have a fire
Fire service
services coordinator? What about Bridgewater?
No.
They don't.
Chester
has, and MODL does. Those are the only two in the area.
Is there any benefit for us to consider co-opting with the MODL group?
We already do. Chris and I work together.
Okay.
Chris Kennedy's the MODL coordinator, and I'll coordinate with him. And actually today on the funds from Oakland, Clareland, we have to send in reports and stuff like that. Yeah. So we are, and he's done some for me, and I've done some things for him. So we are coordinating.
We're working together.
Yep.
Okay. Councilor Bain, did you have a question?
No.
How did the firefighter fundraising thing effort? Good participation last night?
Wasn't bad. They're out again tonight.
Are they?
Yeah, been doing some of Mayor's Cove. They might not get it finished because we didn't have a big turnout of manpower tonight.
Person power.
Yeah, person power.
Chris was at my door last night.
Yeah.
You do, he covered quite a territory.
Councilor Carver?
Yeah, I was wondering the same thing as you sort of alluded to in your question about what access we have to a fire service administrator or coordinator. And it sounds as if it is happening on an informal
basis.
Yeah.
basis, but is there any
Like they don't do any administrative work for us or anything like that. Like he does work for some of the other municipal fire departments, smaller departments. Like he coordinates with them and stuff like that more so than he does us. But
I guess my question is there any, would there be any advantage to having coordination across a larger territory on a more formal basis? That's, I think, what I'm asking.
The way I took this, and we've had a little conversation at the staff level about this bulletin, was actually more on the idea of fire service administration as a function that we haven't really ever defined as a staff function, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's a best practice kind of dimension where what other places are doing is of value to the department, and I expect that's where Richard's conversations usually go. But then in terms of the working with your insurance company around possible liability exposures, record keeping, a number of the things up there, we certainly feel that we should reach out to the department more on that stuff. We have a new insurance provider, at least for equipment. They're very willing to help in terms of risk management. So I think there's some
Maureen
opportunities.
and I have been discussing insurance policies as recent as today.
So there'll be work on the administration side,
but there is a lot of
regional.
There is a lot of paperwork involved in doing these things, which right now the fire chief does. we don't have anybody coordinated to do it now. Bridgewater, the fire chief there has a full-time secretary, so.
And I feel like this even makes reference to relieving the burden on volunteer. So that is a good point.
Well, and in my mind, because after all this time, I do not have a clear picture of the relationship between the fire department and the town. And is it a relationship where town staff provides service or for the fire department?
Well, I think the way that it is right now is Richard acts as the bridge between the staff and the department. I mean, we work directly with the other members of the department who have assigned functions like booking the hall and that. But in terms of record keeping and a lot of that, I do think that there's two systems, that the department is doing their own thing and that we're and records management is a growing function within the town. So it's an
We have a
area
lot
we
of records management that we have to do
try to
ourselves.
reach out and make sure we're following some of the same.
We do
practices.
follow the practice of the town with regard to purchases, and we're getting more into getting POs from the town now. So that is Luke will attest to, because every time I come in, he says, "What do you want to ask?"
Well, that's good. That's good. And Luke is quite keen on doing more to strengthen the administration.
Well, the way I'm looking at it is, it gives us a better idea of what we're spending and what we're getting. Even if we go over in our budget in the town and the fire department has to make up some of the difference, we're doing it in a proper procedure. And also, we're saving that little bit of HST.
So,
Yeah, well, there's
to go back to my question, which is, and my concern, which is my personal lack of clarity around the relationship between the town and the fire department. Maybe it's just me, but maybe there is a lack of clarity. I would really like to have some clarification about how it works, the accountability and at the moment we have a group of volunteers, they're volunteers, and we have us, we're responsible for providing the fire service.
I think it would actually be a great time under this heading if you wanted to make a motion requesting a report on, like, basically say that staff prepare an update for council regarding fire service administration.
Thank you.
Phrase like that.
I'm making
I
that
know
motion.
Mo only
Thank
started
you.
typing just now, but
Thank you.
and since we're already working on
Yeah.
some things, then I expect it'll be in September, of course.
That's
at this
fine.
point.
I thank you.
Sorry, it's like a dog. When you said my name, I lost my train of
Sorry,
thought.
Mo.
That staff prepare an update for
Prepare a
council.
report updating council regarding fire services administration within the town.
And the
my
relationship
motion.
between that and the town itself. Anyway, we have a motion. Do we have a seconder? Motion seconded. All in favor? Motion's carried.
Thank you.
I look forward to that myself. The org chart does show a link between the CAO and the fire
Mhm.
department, but
It's a dotted.
it's not really a functional relationship.
And it's a good opportunity to CAO, we can see what kind of relationship we can have.
And see what kind of oversights are possible.
Thank you.
Okay, Municipal Finance Corporation, June newsletter.
Mayor, I just had two thoughts on that, and maybe we can defer some of the conversation to the audit committee on Thursday. I didn't know that the Municipal Finance Corp had a short-term borrowing program. I know obviously we avail ourselves of the long-term program on a regular basis, but I wasn't given the interest rates that are noted here. I thought our convention historically was to avail ourselves of our normal banking facilities through BMO. So I'm kind of curious, and maybe we can get 3 or 4 minutes of CAO and the finance manager's perspectives on the use of the short-term program if we are at the Thursday meeting. And I also noted that it looks like the mentoring program that they have there might be something that some of our staff may want to avail themselves of too, which looks like it's 12 hours.
We've spoken with them about it before, but I should probably put it back on Paul's radar now.
Anyway, I'm sure it's well in hand, but
But to your first point, Joe, I can either speak to it now or you can bring it up at the short-term loan and how we would use it. You can bring it up
whatever
on
is more
Thursday.
convenient for you.
Well, I would just make a quick point on it. It's my usual way of looking at the short-term loan program. Almost always is you're getting towards year end with a ongoing major infrastructure project that's going to bring you into the year end in a position where you're borrowing either from a private source or MFC.
Yeah.
It usually, because we do our first tax billing before we've had very much time to actually get out and incur much cost during the year, we usually don't fall into that position until the very end of the fiscal, when we're about to bill again and we're carrying debt associated with the capital project. So they usually, the short-term loan program, you have already got a temporary borrowing resolution to go to MFC for the project when it's finished.
Right.
But your project's not finished and you're coming on to the end of the fiscal year. And that's usually when you would avail yourselves of this. And if we get the ICIP funding we've applied for, we might very well be in a position to actually do that. Yeah.
I'm just curious, given that Paul was here last year and I think gave us a presentation about how administratively easy it would be to use that short-term borrowing. Like I'm sure that there's it can't be as easy as just going to the bank around the corner and using our traditional facilities, but I think that interest rate's 0.7%, so be pretty attractive. Less than 1% interest here, so. Now you must have to resolve that within 12 months. I'm sure there's lots of rules and overhead, but there you go. They're doing adding a little value to their portfolio.
It is good. I mean,
Yeah.
aside from the interest rate, like this form of borrowing, as opposed to letting yourself get into a deficit on the operating fund.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, you don't want to end up ending the year in a deficit position. And the way that they do the FCIs, they actually allow you to appear better off in terms of liquidity if you're into a deficit on your capital fund having to do with short-term borrowing than if you haven't done that and you're just in a deficit because you've gone into overdraft on your operating. So it also looks much better for us in terms of our reporting.
I love those old indicators.
Yeah, well, exactly.
Always a great meeting. Alright, Municipal Joint Service Board, you have minutes from the January 23rd, 27th of March, and 22nd of May meetings. Interesting to note that I'm not listed as being present at the January 23rd meeting, but that I did open the meeting.
Yeah,
That's right.
Chairperson, so I
That's
don't know how
right.
we figure that one out. March I wasn't there, I was away, and then I was back in May. I just thought that was pretty good for the 23rd. Okay. Questions on MJSB?
I have 3 questions. One is, why do we get them in delayed bunches like this?
May I please speak to that, Your Worship?
You certainly may, because I get tired.
We are unable to have the minutes forwarded to the partner organizations. So to get the minutes, we have to watch the website for when they are put up. We have our policy with the town is that within 3 days after the meeting, they will be online, which was my response to your question about the recording. So we get JSB minutes in bunches when we find them again on the website.
Is there a reason that we know of why they won't distribute them to the partners?
Because they're available on the website, is what I've been told.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay.
that's, I apologize that they end up in bunches, but that's why.
All right. I don't want to apologize. It's interesting information. So I had a question which I think came from the January minutes. Why do modal residents get 2 free bags at the waste to dump at the waste site?
Well, it's
It's
not
got-
free to modal, it's just free to the residents, so it's a program that they're paying for.
It's not.
Oh,
It's factored
It's
into
factored
the-
into the
oh, I
rates.
see. Oh, I see. Okay, okay. And then I think it was the May 22nd minutes referred to negotiations with the town of Lunenburg. What's going on with that?
Who wants to field that?
I think
Who wants to answer that one?
I think it'd be fair to say that there's an outstanding, a lengthy outstanding item.
Oh, yeah.
That's years in the making. That's still being negotiated.
That the money.
Lunenburg-
Lunenburg
The withdrawal,
The
the
money.
withdrawal,
Okay.
yes, of the original agreement. So.
Okay.
I would also say, and say it in a public forum, that several of the other councilors from other municipalities would have expressed at that public meeting that they would like to have this item resolved in a more timely manner, meaning something, so they would expect that item is going to be resolved one way or the other. What would you say, Mayor, in the next, let's call it the next year, I would say.
Oh, I think
that's-
there's an expectation it's gonna be less than that.
Hmm.
Because I think right now they have a number that all the parties seem to be agreeing on.
Right.
But they gotta kind of get that inked out while the parties still agree. It has been quite a chore. The CAO from MODL, who has just retired, Kevin Malloy, is it?
Right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
He was pulling his hair out at the end of it, trying to get some movement on this file, and it just didn't happen. But at the last meeting, the suggestion was that, we
Yes,
finally
to
had
make
a
a
number
progress.
that
Needs to
was
move
agreeable.
through whatever avenues are required to resolve it. And I think the other being blunt, I mean, it is a material issue. Like the materiality of the amount of money we're talking about is significant. I think it's it's over $300,000. That's a well-known
change.
number, and so it'll play out. I think all the right people seem to be handling it, so we'll see where it ends.
Well, thank you for that. When I read the minutes, it wasn't clear whether it was that old issue or there was something new being
No,
negotiated.
No.
I think everybody around the table's just gotten so used to it. It's only that.
Yeah, it's repeat after repeat.
Okay. I think that is the end of it, is it not? Except
Accounts.
for, we have no new business, we have accounts.
Move the accounts be paid as presented.
Just, if you wanna just wait for 1 second, we do this last item. Okay, motion to pay the accounts as presented?
He just did.
Yeah, do we have a seconder? Seconded to Councillor Now. Questions on the accounts? All in favor? Motion's carried. That's it for our regular agenda. We do have one